Alright, today is going to be a really fun matchup. We're going to have the MC80 from Star Wars, and we're going to have the Ambassador class starship, otherwise known as the Enterprise B from the Star Trek universe. So one of the things I want to talk about is the weapons and the size of the ships and the extras. And the extras would most likely be like shuttlecrafts and fighters. So I will note that in my fight, the ships will have the standard crew they would within the actual universe itself. So the Mon Calamari ship is obviously controlled by Mon Calamari, and then it has a large complement of rebel forces or rebel fighters. And the Federation Starship Ambassador class has the standard Federation Starfleet crew. Okay, so the fight's going to start off. Now we need to know about the ships. Now, the MC80 is a specialized warship created by the Mon Calamari. Now, some of the things I want to talk about this ship is the ship is very large. It is at 1,200 meters long. So this ship dwarfs the Ambassador class starship by quite a bit. The other things I want to talk about are the weapons it carries. It carries 48 dual turbo lasers and 22 dual ion cannons and 6 tractor beams. Now, that may not seem like that many weapon emplacements, but they are dual weapon emplacements, and there is something that we have to note about the Mon Calamari. The Mon Calamari are a technologically advanced race in the Star Wars universe. And unlike the Star Destroyers that it would typically fight against, its specialized computer system allows for these turrets to actually be so accurate that they can actually shoot down enemy starfighters. Now, this is something that the Star Destroyers are not capable of doing. So I do have to note that, because I think that would be an important factor within this fight, because I really think that if the ship's weapon emplacements are accurate enough to shoot down a fighter, I believe they could shoot down a torpedo. And that, I think, would be a huge advantage to the ship. So the next thing we're going to discuss is we're going to talk about the weaponry, which we know is on the Ambassador class starship. Alright, so next we're going to look at the Ambassador class starship, otherwise known as the NCC-1701C, the Enterprise C. So this ship, its length is about 524 meters. So this ship is less than half the size of the MC80, but it does carry a wide range of new technology from Starfleet. Now, it is noted this ship is quite a bit more advanced than the Excelsior class starships, which it was designed to replace. The Federation has roughly around 400 to 500 of these starships, and they were a standard starship for deep space exploration and for picking up strange races. It had very advanced technology and was able to house many different species for Ambassador class missions, and so that is why it's referred to as the Ambassador class. But don't be discouraged by its name. It is actually a tactical warship, and that was its primary goal. It's more advanced than the Excelsior. It's supposed to replace the Excelsior class. It has stronger shields. It has more weapons. The standard shield matrix is 2,025,000, and it carries 10 Type 9 phasers, which hit for about I think it's about 30,000 apiece, and so overall it's 300,000 terawatts of damage. Now, it is noticed that this ship does use some new technology that wasn't seen prior to the other ships of this line. One of the things is the phaser array system. Instead of being a ballpoint phaser system, it's the phaser array. It gives it a much wider angle, and then from the technical manuals, it also makes it charge faster and shoot faster, something by almost between 30 to 50%. Now, I do note that during the Dominion War, this ship was heavily upgraded, and it also says that this ship was heavily upgraded even from the moment it was put out towards the end of its era before the Galaxy class. Alright, so the Ambassador class has newer weapons and has also an advanced torpedo bank. Usually ships would be able to shoot only one torpedo at a time, but this ship was able to shoot 5 torpedoes out of its specialized torpedo bank. It is noted it only carried 2, one forward and one aft torpedo bay. But firing 5 torpedoes at a time was almost as if the ship was carrying 5 torpedo banks at once, which was quite advanced. Now, this is not as advanced as the Galaxy class version, which was able to do 10, but this is the predecessor to that advanced technology. Some of the things that I would like to note about this ship is the ship does seem to be moderately maneuverable for a ship of its size, and was used as a capital class cruiser during the Dominion War. So the ship was acting almost as if it was a Galaxy-class starship. Because it was newer technology and was quite easy to upgrade, what ended up happening is they were taking the Ambassador-class starships, making them fleet commanders, and they were upgrading them to 10 Type X phasers, which was raising the output to 680,000 terawatts. And they were given the new higher ranking shield matrix, which we're seeing on the Galaxy class starships, upgraded during the Dominion War, and is about 5,103,000. Another thing that would note about the Ambassador class, it appears that the ship is capable of carrying about 5 shuttlecrafts within its 2 shuttlecraft bay doors. Alright, so let's go ahead and start. Let's start about how this fight's going to happen. What's it going to be like? Well, I really think that in the scenario that the Ambassador class ship is going to come in, it's going to warp in, it's going to immediately start to defend itself, it's going to start launching those torpedoes at far range trying to hit the Mon Calamari cruiser. Now, the Mon Calamari cruiser is going to have those fighters, and it's also going to have that point defense system with its large turbo lasers, which is an advanced targeting system, which I think will be able to shoot the torpedoes before they get in range from such a far distance. So with this being said, I think what's going to happen is those fighters are going to be smart enough to stay around the Mon Calamari cruiser, and the Federation starship is going to come in underneath the belly of the ship at a long distance. It's going to arc itself so that the top of the ship is able to send all those phasers into one spot, and it's going to continue to do this. Now, the only thing is, I even know the Mon Calamari cruiser is slow and not very maneuverable, and the Galaxy class is going to be able to run circles around it. I really think that it just has so many weapon emplacements on it that you're going to get at least a fourth or half the firepower will still be able to fight back and shoot back at the Federation starship. And even that, the Federation starship is still only going to get a certain percentile of its weapon systems to hit. A large percentile, but the Mon Calamari cruiser does have quite a bit more firepower. And so I really think that even the loss of the fourth or even half, it's still going to be enough to bring down the shields of the Ambassador class starship. Or at least when it starts to come down, the Ambassador class is going to realize that it's just not going to be able to keep on this kind of fight from far distance. It is going to decide to come in at full impulse. It's going to try to get behind the ship, and then it's going to try to launch those torpedoes. Now, the only thing is, though, I really think that it is really going to be able to get behind the ship, and it's going to be able to launch those torpedoes. And I think some of those torpedoes are going to hit. It's going to create massive damage to the Mon Calamari cruiser. But I think that the time it takes for the ship to get into that position, I think it would have lost its shields. I think it would have taken many shots from the ion cannons. Many of the systems would have been turned off or not functioning. Its shields would be down, and those double turbo lasers would have been burning parts of the ship away. And on top of that, the fighters are going to come in there, and they're going to start swarming the ship as soon as those shields go down. And I really don't think that they're going to be that much danger in the beginning, but once the shields go down, those turbo lasers and those missiles are going to start hitting the ship all over, and I think that the Ambassador class is just not going to be able to take that much damage after its shields are down from the Mon Calamari cruiser and the supporting fighting craft. And at that point, I do think the Mon Calamari will be partially crippled, but it still will be capable of defending itself, and the Enterprise will lose, in my opinion. Now, I also think that if we were to change the scenario up and we were to add the updated version of the Ambassador class starship, I think it would be a completely different scenario, and I think that the same kind of tactics would come in, but I think the Ambassador class starship would stay at a distance with those 68,000 terawatt phasers. It would be able to bring down the Mon Calamari shields, and the Mon Calamari ship would only be able to produce a half to 25% of that original attack power at that ship, but the Ambassador class has the same capable shields, and it will eventually just take the shields down of the Mon Calamari ship, and then it will just vaporize it from a distance, and those fighters will come in to try to defend it. They'll get vaporized within seconds, and the fight will be over.